Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 5 O'Clock Sweats. I am your co-host, Derick, joined as always by co-hosts Chris and Ryan. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about watching movies in theaters versus streaming them at home. I guess maybe a good way to break into this topic is, what are your preferences here? I think I know a little bit about this, but Chris, do you want to start? What's your preference? In theater or streaming at home?
So I think this is an interesting topic to discuss, but I would say, like, in terms of my personal preference, and this is, I don't know, it changes. I think this changes based on like how busy I am. But ultimately I enjoy going to the movies, right? Now, I do not get to do that nearly as much as I'd like to, or maybe as much as I used to, years ago. But there is just, to me, something about, looking up movie times, right? Kind of arranging your day based on, going to that movie. It's like an outing. Obviously, concessions, right? You got to have popcorn, whatever, candy. We can discuss that a little bit more, maybe a little later in the episode, because I think there's some strong opinions there on what's the best. But yeah, so for me, it's always been going to the movies. Interestingly enough, though, I think as technology has advanced, specifically like home theater technology, I don't think that the theater, like the visual, aspect of the theater is like superior anymore. Like back in the day, at least growing up, it was like, okay, this is a bigger screen, it must be better. But like, you're talking TVs now, like, especially with some of this new technology with the OLED TVs. I mean, you can get some damn good picture quality out of like at home stuff, which in a lot of these, especially small theaters, kind of trumps what they're putting out. But just the overall experience, theaters are by far, my preferred way to watch a movie. If, of course, I have the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I think growing up, right, if you were watching a movie at home, you were popping that VHS into the VCR, and it's literally reading a movie off of tape.
Yeah.
And it just felt like the higher quality option was to go to the theater to get what's essentially the source material played in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think from a quality standpoint, that makes a ton of sense.
And even the audio, like, right, again, like the audio back then, right, you would go to the theaters, like the speakers are amazing, right? A lot of movies are shot and like, they're mixed for theater, like viewing. So, that can be a better experience. But, obviously, nowadays you can get surround sound even just from a sound bar, right? It's like gone are the days where you need like, your whole room to be wired up for surround sound. Like one speaker can accomplish it. So there's a lot of arguments to be made for just viewing things at home, but I'm interested to kind of hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I agree with you. My preferred method of movie watching is just getting in my car, looking at the movie times, like you said. I get a little giddy every time I pull up the Fandango app or whatever, the website, and just check the times, try to plan out my schedule a little bit, like what time works best for me. If I've got friends coming, like, it's an event. It's got that event feel to it, which, for me, just watching a movie at home doesn't really carry the same weight. And I've got a couple of happy places, and the movie theater is certainly one of them for me. I still get giddy whenever I'm walking up to the theater, open the doors, you get that whiff of popcorn, freshly cooked popcorn, butter, and then you can maybe hear the popping sound if you listen closely. And then you got the people. There's not really lines anymore because everyone's kind of buying their tickets ahead of time and just getting them scanned to go into the theater. But it's not. And you make good points about how technology has advanced, and screens at home have gotten crisper. You've got like 4K, 8K, whatever K TVs these days. You can see all the beads of sweat on the actors. You can see, acne or whatever. Like that, the the detail is crazy.
Wow.
And the sound quality is also great too if you are fortunate enough to be able to afford a great sound system. But for me, just the process of planning to go to a movie, like getting hyped for a big blockbuster release, not even a big blockbuster release, but just any movie you're looking forward to seeing, and then just kind of planning out your day around that movie. Like it's a plan. Like if you're trying to plan out your weekend and there's a big movie coming out on that Friday you want to see, you're really just excited to see it. Where I don't think that level of excitement's necessarily there if you're just gonna sit on your couch at like 3 PM and go on Amazon Prime or HBO or wherever and watch it there. So just go into the theater and then finding your seat, and then just strapping in, getting those previews and everything. It's all very nostalgic, and despite all the advances in technology, I still feel like being in the theater is the more immersive experience. I definitely have a tendency to pay more attention to movies when I'm in the theater, because I feel like I'm in it, especially. So that's why theaters are preferred for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess on my end, I do feel the nostalgia for theaters. A lot of what you said, walking in, smelling the popcorn, seeing the lines at the concession stand, seeing the big marquees, like that all hits for me for sure. I think that for new movies, theaters are definitely my preferred experience, right? I know the new Spider-Man just came out. Now that's one that I do still want to watch. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you have.
But I do want to see it in theaters.
Yes.
The caveat there is, over the pandemic, somebody developed a ton of anxiety. So it's a little bit tough for me to physically go to a venue where my main activity is sitting and doing nothing and waiting.
That's
a little bit of, maybe we're moving into the pros and cons here, but
well, kind of to that point, like I think that's a good point to discuss that a little bit. There's like I see the good and bad there, kind of to your point. Like obviously, like if there's a level of like social anxiety, it's like, what is there a worse setting to be in where it's like a group of people and you're just sitting within it, right? But I would actually say, like, kind of to that point, you were talking about like premieres and new movies. Like there is something special though about being in like a packed theater, and like I hate this is like one of my pet peeves. Like I'm not somebody who cheers and like claps at the movies, but there is something like the kind of like feeding off of like the crowd, like in a good scary movie, right? Like you can hear everybody kind of jump or whatever. But in the same thing in like a hero movie, right? There's always like the applause or whatever it might be. But I just think there is a little bit of like an energy level that exists in a theater that obviously, you don't get at home, especially like Ryan said, you're at home, you're like, 70% watching the movie, 30% on your phone or, whatever, doing other things. So, I can see kind of what you're saying there, Derick. It can be overwhelming, but then at the same time, it can be kind of peaceful when like you go into like a movie that's been out for 2 weeks and it's like you and like 3 other people who are like very clearly like too busy to make like the premiere.
Dude, I saw the most recent Dragon Ball movie that came out last year. It's been a year since I've seen that. I saw that pop up the other day. I was like, what the hell? Time is flying by. But it was me and one other dude in the theater. And I sat like front. Oh no. he sat all the way in the back and I sat like front and center. Like my ideal position in the theater is the section, they have the handicapped section. The next level above that is my preferred level. I feel like it's the optimal distance and the optimal eye level to enjoy a movie in the theater. But as Derick mentioned, like I excel at sitting down and doing nothing. Like that's like my favorite thing to do. So going like that's one of the reasons why the theater
fills me with more dread than that idea.
So yeah. That's where
my palms are sweaty right now. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just like it's an escape for me. I just I kind of shut off my phone and just kind of disconnect from reality for 1.5 to 2 hours, 3 hours, however long your movie is, and just immerse myself in what I'm watching. And like you don't really get the same escape, I feel like, when you're just watching at home, because you're kind of still in your world, like you got, like we said, your phone is still accessible. You can just look at your phone the whole time without, any guilt whatsoever. So the theaters, providing an escape is also a big reason for me why I prefer that.
Right, absolutely. And I think there's another thing we touched on there too, right? Isn't the I guess this is anecdotal, but isn't the quote unquote best place to sit in the theater like 2/3 of the way back?
That sounds
Or
right.
am I crazy? I don't know.
I think that's
the
that
sound
sounds
engineers
right.
sit about 2/3 of the way back in the theater, so you're getting the optimal sound experience.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a sound engineer.
I don't know
Barely
if
go to
I've
theaters.
heard that, but I mean, listen, I'll say this, right? Like when you like buy TVs, right? Like each size TV has an optimal viewing distance. It's based on, I'm sure, like some kind of mathematical equation relating to like the viewing angle. So I'm sure there is. It also, like when you're blind like me, that dictates quite a bit too. Like at some point I can't really see. So, I have to sit, within what my eyes allow me to. But yeah, I never sit in that first section ever. I don't think I ever have. And if I have, I don't even remember it.
They should just get rid of that. Like the first 3 rows, just get rid. I know you're losing seating and money if you're the movie theater, but why even put people in that position and subject them to that experience? It's miserable. I've done it before because I've had to. Not because I wanted to, because I've had to.
I've only done it twice, and both of those times are with you, Ryan. I think it was
wait, which one?
The Dark Knight Rises, and I think Ant-Man
yeah,
2.
you're right.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think.
Ryan, I told you about this the other week.
Right.
We brought up the Batman movies, and I swore that you were the one that told me that you were like sitting in some awful row, like staring straight up at the movie. Because I just, you know what it is? You probably showed up so damn late. I could see that. I could see that.
No, well, so I must have seen it twice then. I don't know if we're talking about the Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Rises. Derek, you said the Dark Knight Rises, I think, but
yeah.
Okay, then I must have seen it in theaters twice, because the first time I saw it was a back-to-back viewing of the trilogy. And we had seats in the back the whole time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and then I think
I remember
you and the 2 people that you saw it with the first time also went a second time with me.
Dude, we loved it.
So you went from the back all the way to the front?
It's got to get the whole experience.
I had to I had to see the other side. I had to, I can't just shit on the first row without experiencing it to see how truly bad it is. So I was doing it for science.
I'll take your word for it.
Empathy.
I don't need to experience that for myself. I'll take your word on that.
Well, if you want neck pain, then try it.
I think we could compile a little list of pros and cons of the, movie theater versus home theater. Kind of a little bit branching off of our discussion here. So I think, Derek, why don't you start? Pro or con for either side there? What comes to mind?
So I'm going to say a pro for movie theaters is that production companies make movies with theaters in mind. So you're seeing the video the way that it was intended to be seen, and hearing the audio the way it was intended to be heard from whatever row you're sitting in.
Agreed.
Yeah, very true. I definitely feel.
Ryan?
So you kind of brought it up as sort of a negative earlier, but I love kind of the crowd experience, especially if it's a certain movie where I'm going and I expect the crowd to be into it, and get that kind of corny applause at the end. But even I love that, and I even do the same thing. Like when if I'm watching movies from home, I usually, if it's a movie I'm excited to see, I really want to like watch it with people. But sitting in a crowded theater with a bunch of strangers, for like a big blockbuster especially, is you can't beat it. It's like going to a sporting event almost.
Yeah, I think I unlocked something in my brain one time by cheering in a movie theater. Because growing up, I never reacted to anything. If there was like a funny cartoon on, just absolute nothing. Blank expression on my face. Like I'd acknowledge it. And I'm like, yeah, this is funny. I saw Godzilla. I don't even know what year that was.
2014 Godzilla?
Yeah, it must have been that one.
Oh, okay.
The one with Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Ooh, maybe. It's been so long. Yeah, it must have been that one. But I guess spoilers for this movie. When Godzilla takes a thing and then breathes fire down its throat, I think I just audibly started laughing in the theater. And ever since then, I'm just like reactive to media now.
You've developed emotion?
Yeah. I don't know what it's been.
I feel
like a firmware update, I guess, for my body. But,
shout out Godzilla.
Yeah,
Shout
something
out.
I do love that movie.
I used to think is a con, I think is now a pro. The crowd experience. So I'm second on that one.
We just swayed his entire opinion.
Wow.
I think we can probably end it here. I think that's all we needed.
Yeah.
All right.
We win.
So I'm going to kind of take it a little further here. Like, because when we bring up these topics, regardless what they are, like my mind just starts kind of going. And what I'm thinking right now is I think a con to the streaming platform for movies is that I think there's a lot of garbage movies being made. And I think kind of to your point, right? It's like you were saying movies are made to be seen in the theaters. Well, I actually think there's like a tier of movies now that like are being made to go right to streaming platforms, but they seem just so bad. And like it almost, but hear me out. Like it almost reminds me of like, for example, like you look at like Xbox Game Pass, like there's so many games that are coming out, like they're made to come out on Game Pass and they're so bad. And it's like, it's almost like the lore there is like just to get like some kind of marketing or hype behind these titles. They don't actually have to deliver, but they just have to bring people to the platform to sign up or, you know what I mean? To get a subscription. And it's like, then the actual movie doesn't even matter if it's good or bad because like at that point you got the people reeled in. Like,
right.
I can remember like, not too long ago, the Halloween movies. I know Ryan and I were talking about these a lot, but I felt like specifically like the third one, it was like locked behind like some, I don't know, was it, I guess, is it Peacock? But I guess you have Peacock by default. I don't know. But it was locked behind some streaming service.
The third one released in theaters.
Did it?
Most
Okay,
recent
yeah.
one?
Yeah, then it was maybe
I
the
saw it
second
in theaters,
one.
unfortunately.
But regardless, like it was marketed from the get-go as like coming right to streaming services, like, and like it was just so bad, and it just made me kind of think like, is it advantageous for these movie makers to just skip the theater process and just, market towards, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Netflix, Hulu, whatever it's going to be, on. So I don't know. To me, that's a little bit of a con, as I think now you have like it's just another layer of like corporate stuff kind of affecting, creativity or the quality of movies. So I think some people are making movies to just come right out on the streaming services, and like they just knowingly are putting out kind of like, subpar content.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like streaming services are now the new like straight to DVD.
Yeah.
Like that's what like those movies that were made go straight to DVD. Now they just go straight to your streaming platforms. And there's definitely benefits to going straight to streaming. I mean, for one, you're going to reach a broader audience because it's more accessible. I mean, everyone's got Netflix and Hulu and HBO and whatnot, so you're definitely going to reach a larger audience, especially coming off the coattails of COVID. So I mean, I would say the majority of people are watching their movies from home these days. So, and you can probably have a lower budget, and then just make so much profit just based off views.
Sure.
And I'm not even. Do we know actually how these companies are making money off the streaming? I mean, besides like subscribers and is it just views?
I would say it's basically like the streaming platform probably either like budgets to develop the movie and like agrees to pay a certain amount, or I don't know, maybe they just pay like upfront X number, like we're going to give you 50 million for this movie, and then the streaming platform obviously benefits from marketing it and drawing in new users or subscribers, or I don't know what their metrics are, but to me it just seems like it's all about just quantity over quality for the streaming services. I could say that like specifically about Netflix. I think Netflix has gotten so watered down, and their standards have just gotten very low in terms of like original movies.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like they bring in a great movie to the service. I'm talking about movies made specifically for Netflix or whatever it may be.
Right, and I feel like that's been a topic of discussion over the last 2 or 3 years, where specifically Netflix will sign on for series to be on Netflix, or original movies, and then they'll just axe them. Like they won't renew the shows for another season. They won't give movies sequels.
Yeah.
Their shows are definitely better than their movies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like especially Netflix specifically, and I feel like all of their original movies that come out are action movies, like kind of cheesy action movies that have like they've had a couple with Chris Hemsworth. They had one with The Rock and what's her face who plays Wonder Woman. I don't know why I can't remember her name.
Gal Gadot.
And Ryan Gosling. What was her name?
Gal Gadot? Is that how you say that?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Don't know how I forgot her. But yeah, they get these big name actors, pay them an exorbitant amount of money, and just put them in these kind of corny, like cheap looking in regards to the CGI, but these action movies just riding the name of the actor they pay.
Yeah, they're very much like they're cookie cutter. There's like very clearly like a template, and they're just like following along with the template, and it's typically pretty bad. But well, maybe we can digress. I didn't mean to bring us down that rabbit hole, but I think
yes,
I think Derick, it's your turn. Do you have a pro or con for, like I said, either side?
Yeah, so I'm going to reuse a pro that we mentioned earlier as a con. So the advancement in technology has been great, right? I mean, we've kind of seen where it's gone over the last 20 years ish, and with the development of new TVs, they introduced something that I personally don't like, and that's the smoothing feature.
Ooh.
So that's, without getting into too much detail, movies and a lot of even TV is meant to be played and watched at a certain frame rate.
Yep.
And what the smoothing does is it artificially like increases the frame rate, basically. So things are smoother than they really should be. So if you've ever watched a movie or a TV show on like a newer TV in the last, 5 to 8 years, and you think it's a little soap opera-y, or like something looks a little bit too real, that's the reason. It's because soap operas are shot intentionally at higher frame rates. So when normal movies are artificially bumped up to those frame rates, it just looks fake. So I think that technology is a con for home streaming.
I have a lot of experience with this because I've bought like several new TVs, and I'm very like wacky about, like, I get like anxiety when I get a new TV because I'm like, I go online and I'm like, I need to find the right settings. Like it makes me crazy. Like I'm not the person where I can just take a TV out of a box, like, hook it up and just like watch it at default settings. Cause I agree, right? You get the ghosting, you get the soap opera effect, right? There's so many like post-processing effects now that I don't know why these TV companies think that like people want these things, because to be honest, it degrades the quality. It looks bad, but it also is like, it like makes you like nauseous. Like, at least for me, like, it gives me like motion sickness. Some of the like the things that the TVs are trying to do, particularly with motion. And then it's like they don't work the way that like they're advertised, right? Because all right, it might look good in this application, but then if you watch sports, right, like the ball is like a blur or something like that, right? It's like there's just a lot of situations where like it just doesn't quite do what it's supposed to. And I agree, you know, I think sometimes it's like, do we need that feature just to say we have that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just another buzzword, right, to add on there. I do think some of those things work well for like games, right? TVs have become much better for gaming because a lot of those processes, but again, I think it's just like kind of like applying too many things. I just end up turning all of that stuff off.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Motion blur. So, camera shake.
Gotta go. Yeah, well, yeah, don't get me
Gross.
started on that. So good point. I like it. I agree with it. Kind of like a little OCD thing for me, though, is those settings. Like, as soon as you started saying that, I was I was buzzing. Ryan, do you have something?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't want to completely just disregard watching the benefits of watching movies at home, because there's definitely benefits. And
Why'd you say it like that?
one of
Oh, he's about to say something
how did I say it?
controversial.
No, not controversial. I have a little anecdote recently, which is what I'm gonna bring up here, and that is the easy access. It's twofold.
I don't
The
know where
ability-
this is going.
It's the ability to pause, specifically to use the bathroom. Specifically, I
Got it.
saw the new Across the Spiderverse movie in theaters 2 weeks ago, and it's pushing 2.5 hours long runtime.
Dang.
So me, you know, and I know not to do this, but I just can't help myself. You know, I go to the theater and I get a Coke. Movie theater Coke just tastes better. It just hits different. It's the best. I think there's literally drugs in it to make it taste as good as it does. So I buy one.
We earned our
And-
explicit tag.
You know, I'm buying one, and I'm drinking it, and you know, full disclosure, you know, I got the bladder's a little small, you know, just saying. Maybe episode title, perhaps, probably not.
I've already marked it, my man.
There we go. So I'm drinking my soda, and you know, about like literally maybe just about halfway through the movie, I have to pee, like I gotta go. So I try to find, and then it comes like the game within the game. Like you have to try to find the part, like the downtime in the movie itself, where maybe it's a little more dialogue heavy. There's not as much action going on. So luckily, you know, I find a good time, like in this towards the end of the second act. I run out. Luckily, the bathroom's right across the hall, so I run there, run back. Don't really miss much. Maybe like a couple of pieces of dialogue. It was really quick. Then, you know, I keep drinking the soda, and then like the entire third act, which it's
story's
like
not
an
done.
hour. No, it's not done yet. 45 minutes, maybe an hour of the third act. I have to go so badly. Like I'm crying. Like I got tears in my eyes because it hurts. And I'm like, I
You're trying
can't
to get
miss
the
it. Like
extra moisture
there's so
out.
many things. I'm sweating. Like I've got incredible. I got a ton of back sweat. Like I'm struggling right now, but I am a trooper, and I'm sitting in this chair and I'm watching this movie because it is so damn good, and I am not getting up. I refuse to get up. Long story short, like the pro of watching at home is if that was going to happen, I could just pause the movie and then walk 5 feet to my bathroom and then be back and not miss a thing. So yeah, that is a major pro of watching movies from home, is pausing and convenience, or the, you know, accessibility to your bathroom.
It is hard to disagree with that as a pro. As much,
Yeah, it's relatable too. I mean, we all do it.
I'm just
You
trying
know?
to figure out how that was like literally like a 50-minute story about how you went to the bathroom because you drank Coke.
It stuck with me. I just had to. I wanted everyone to feel. I wanted our listeners to feel my suffering because they've been there. Like If you've been
Well,
to
I
the
felt
theater,
it.
you've gone through this before. It's very relatable, and that's what
there's
we're all about
literal
here on 5 o'clock
apps
sweats.
for it, right? What is it?
Fair
Run
enough.
P? Is it Run P
There's
that you
apps?
can look up like
yeah,
when
you
is the
didn't know
best
that?
time to use
Oh,
the bathroom
really?
during this movie? Okay, we've just opened your eyes and
Oh, I'm downloading that. This is This is
All
this is
right,
gonna
we'll
broaden
look
my
that up
horizons.
after
This
the
is gonna be a
episode,
game changer for me.
sure.
Yeah. First thing I'm doing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
See?
we
It's
went
relatable.
me, Ryan, Chris. What about you? Pro or con either way?
So I think a pro for the theater experience would be, it's got to be the concessions, right? Obviously at home you have access to whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's like there's certain things like eating pizza on the boardwalk. It's not the same as eating that same pizza in your kitchen, right? It just,
True.
there's something about concessions at the movie theater. I think it's probably something to do with the fact that like you take out a mortgage to get them, so you appreciate them a lot more. At least that's my situation. Movie theater popcorn, hard to argue against that. You know, whatever microwave popcorn you buy, it won't match the movie theater popcorn. Something about eating an entire day's worth of calories in popcorn and some kind of fake butter. There's just, you can't beat that. Also, the candy, right? Who doesn't love like a $15 box of snow caps?
See, I was
Dude.
thinking snow caps too. As soon as you said concessions,
Snow caps are goated. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
all joking aside, obviously prices are stupid, but like, you know, there is just, I don't know what it is. There's just something about eating, you know, particular movie snacks in the theater, trying to keep Ryan's nasty hands out of the bag. That's probably a con.
Hey, we saw John
Came
Wick
back
4
from
in
the
the theater, and you
bathroom
shared your
suspiciously
popcorn with me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is what I do when I go with Ryan. I eat what I want of it, and then I just hand the bag off to him.
Yeah, the
We're
remnants.
not doing that. We're not
the
going
crumbs.
the, you know, the back and forth. No. I give you a fair share. Don't act
That's
like
true. Yeah, you're generous.
Yeah.
Side note on the popcorn thing: are we all aware of the butter popcorn trick? Are we all aware of this life hack?
you
That
need
exists
to be
in
our world.
very careful with the words popcorn trick.
Popcorn. Oh, so yeah, not that popcorn trick, but
Is it with the straw?
So basically, it's with the straw. Yeah, you put the straw, you know, in the popcorn, in the middle of the popcorn, and then you attach it to the butter dispensing device, and the butter pours down through the straw and gets the bottom of the bucket of popcorn, and then you also get some on top, or you pull the straw up and you keep pouring it as you're pulling it up, and then it gets the entire it's like a layer of butter on each level. So, you know, you're welcome.
Also convinced that there is no butter in that butter whatsoever. That is
that's what
like
makes it so good.
That's pure oil. I don't know what the hell it is, but like, dude, I don't know. I like it, but at some point I'm like, yo, I need this to like go away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care
And
what
then-
it is.
They
I
also
don't wanna
like
think about
what's everyone's opinions on the like shakers for the popcorn? Like, you know, they have like cheddar.
So those
you
are
know,
new. I feel like
ranch, whatever stuff.
they don't have
Do
that
we-
at every theater.
I've seen it at every theater now.
Well, not up here in good old Pennsylvania. They have they have. I saw them at Tilton when we went that one time, but there was a lot of them too. That's cool. They should be an option everywhere because they're great. Like, who doesn't love seasoning?
But there's another thing, right? So it's like just like the butter until we found out your life-changing hack. But just like the butter, I mean, you know, the bag's so damn full, it's like you're not getting it anywhere but like just purely concentrated on the top. So like, I don't know.
True.
I don't think I like it.
Well, listen, if there's a garlic flavor, then I'm gonna roll with that, or ranch, garlic or ranch. That'd be my.
So you're
my favorites.
not. So you're not sitting next to me if you're doing that.
Oh, you're hating? You're hating?
No, I'm not hating. It's just, you know, for obvious reasons, that would make you a liability.
Yeah. It
Just-
depends,
yeah,
on,
you're just-
depends on who you ask.
You're just out here reeking like ranch the whole movie, like the 3-hour movie. I gotta hear you like over there chewing, and then you smell like ranch. No.
It's part of the experience.
All right. I feel like I bring up good points and then we just go off. But,
Well, that was partly my fault.
so, do we want to continue with pros and cons, or do we have another point to make?
I think we have some more. I think we can name some more pros and cons. At least
think so,
one more for each, perhaps.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like we got to be on the same page on this one, so I'm gonna say it. Cost.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've hit the cost of concessions already, but cost of a movie ticket versus, well, I guess it's the monthly cost of whatever streaming platform you're on, or if you're
Sure.
buying it once or renting it, like whatever the cost of that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that could be a con for theaters, or a con or pro for streaming.
Well, I would say like the theater, it's probably a con. I mean, I'm thinking like this, right? Like as a parent, you bring your family to the theater. I mean, let's just say 4 to 5 people, right? Average family size, I guess. I mean, that's $100.
Yeah.
Easy, right? I mean, you're talking probably, what is it, like $15 to $20 a ticket for a movie? I don't even look at it really anymore.
It's closer to 20 these days.
So let's just call it 20, right? And then, you're saying like probably $30, $40 worth of concessions between drinks and popcorn, whatever. So, that's not cheap for a family outing. $100 some for, 2 hours of entertainment. I mean, it's not the worst proposition, but I definitely see your point, and it's only gotten worse, I think, as theaters have kind of struggled, you know what I mean? And from what I understand, and I don't have a lot of understanding, but I think the movies, like the reels, cost quite a bit for the theaters to obtain.
Mhm.
So, obviously,
sure.
they have to pass that cost along to, us as the viewers or the customers. But I agree. That's a good point. The cost, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, I mean, buying at home. So movies at home now, like if you want to rent or buy something that just released digitally, it's usually, I think to rent, it's like $10 maybe 10, but it might be closer to 20.
Cheaper.
Is it cheaper to
really?
rent?
Yeah,
Well,
I think
if it depends on the movie. If it's brand new, like older,
right.
like movies that have been out for a while, it's like, I think it's like $3 to $5 to rent on Amazon. But if you're
I'm thinking of the one that you and I watched, a couple weeks ago.
Shout out About Time.
Yeah, Rachel McAdams.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
even if it is $10, gosh, even if it's $20 to rent the movie,
Yeah.
right? It's you can all watch the movie, right? It's $20 once. It's not like there's 5 of us, so it's $20 times 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have the space, it's absolutely the most cost-effective way. Of course, you can get into the concessions again. I think we've all been guilty of like going to somewhere else to buy snacks and then taking them into the theater, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom would make us popcorn and like send us, like shove it in our sweatshirt or something. And like, that's what we did, right?
Oh, do we have like a weird thing we've each brought into the movies before, like something obscure?
I gotta think. No, I've always kept it like candy, or like I like haven't pulled out like an Italian hoagie.
Dude, that's something I would do.
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
my answer is no, but the way you frame that question makes me think you do.
Yeah.
Well, not. I mean, it's not. It's a little obscure, but it's not good. It's not like anything crazy weird. But I brought in Taco Bell before. I brought in a Baja Blast and a quesarito or two. Yeah, I've snuck in a couple of fast food items in my history of going to the theater. But what made me think about it is that there have been 2 separate occasions where a person in my row brought in sushi, and another one where they brought in Chinese food. I love Chinese food, but it's a pungent dish, very pungent.
It also like I just don't see, like, I'm not one to like bring in a meal to a movie, right? Like I'm just gonna bring like snacks, like whatever I can jam in my pockets. Like I'm not rolling out. Like how do you get that into the theater?
Well, you gotta get a bag. Like they're not checking like security for movies. I feel like is very lax.
Well,
like they don't check. Like if you're with someone who's got they're bringing a bag or a purse of some sort. Like they're not going through that thing. Yeah,
purse,
and purses can be a little. You get a big purse, and you could sneak in like like the classic Chinese food, paper box. The little little guy could fit that in there. The Taco Bell was easy. We just slide them in there, a little malleable too. You can kind of squish them in there a bit.
Oh my god, you and these words. I just, what it is? I just at some point it's like too much effort. Like I don't want to be like setting up a meal in the theater. Like I'm there to watch the movie. I want something like whatever. I could just rip open the bag and like, get sick in like 20 minutes.
So are you anti-movie tavern where they have literal waiters and waitresses serving you?
100%. I think that's dumb.
I do think that's strange.
I'm not at a restaurant. I'm at a movie theater. You could have like a restaurant vibe outside of the theater, but like I don't need that. I don't know. It's just like I'm there to watch the movie. Right, I'm gonna like chew on something, but I don't need. I don't know. I don't need the whole meal. So,
yeah, I don't need chicken fingers and French fries for my movie, or a burger. And also like the waiters and waitresses coming up and down the aisle. Yeah, don't need them in my periffs while I'm trying to enjoy the movie.
God.
Yeah,
my periffs, dude. He's on a roll. He's just on a roll with like these I don't even know these words and phrases, but that's a good point though. I do think the cost is an intriguing thing to think about versus kind of just renting at home. What about, we didn't really totally touch on this yet, but like what do you guys think about audio? Sound, right?
It's a little contentious for me. Growing up, I would always go to the movies with my family, right? And my sister just hates anything loud. So even like Madagascar, like something that doesn't have loud noises, like even that, way too much for her.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of got a little bit sensitive to the sound, but at the same time, I kind of like sound, right? I play music, I have microphones and all that jazz. Not literally.
Got a podcast.
Yeah, that's true. But sound is something that I care about. So it's hard for me to balance the part of my brain that is thinking about, the sound quality and all the things that I actually hear versus just the sheer volume that they pump out at theaters.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is like jolting at first. Like and I'm one too where like I don't like straining, like struggling to hear, but I don't like to be, where you leave and your like ears feel like they're ringing kind of vibe, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't like to be like kind of taken aback by the sound, and I do think theaters do that, but I find that I kind of adjust rather quickly, and once you kind of get into it, it's, I don't know, like for example, Ryan and I saw John Wick a few weeks back or whatever, a month or two at this point, and like that was, that's a lot of gunfire, like for 3 hours, and obviously it's very loud, but it does, to me, it adds to the experience,
the immersion.
In a particular movie like that. Exactly, that's probably, you're right, the best way to put it. But I just think the movies are made, like Christopher Nolan. I was actually watching something the other day or whatever, and it was basically talking about how Christopher Nolan's movies are mixed for like theater viewing, and that's why like if you watch them like at home a lot, the sound, like some of the dialogue is hard to pick up like volume wise because of the way that it's mixed. It's it's an intentional thing. But I think, most movies are kind of mixed with the theater in mind. And then, everything else is kind of secondary. The other thing is at home is What's funny is like as much as the TVs are advancing in terms of their panels and their visual quality, like the audio on TVs now, probably by design, is terrible because
they want you to
obviously
buy
they want you to buy
soundbars.
exactly sound bars and whatever. So, I think the at-home experience for audio is just too kind of like, I don't know, it's not reliable, and you have to invest quite a bit to actually be able to get to a point where you can say, okay, I think this is a better audio experience than in the theater. And I'm not talking about just sheer volume, right? Obviously, the theater is going to be able to blow you out of the water. Yeah,
I would say that at-home audio is too variable.
Yeah.
Right? There's way too many things that a consumer could possibly have in their home that, all the streaming platforms, any technology that pushes the media to you, right? There's an infinite number of permutations of like, what do we have to account for?
Yeah.
So it's tough to always get the highest quality stuff, right? Because if they're forcing the highest quality stuff on all the people, not all the people are going to stream it, right? Like that's not going everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think, I think it, like you said, it's variable. And I think it does depend on who you are as a person. Like if loud noises are like off-putting, then I could totally see that being an entire reason in and of itself for somebody to never go to the movie theater,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, honestly, like I've had some experiences at theaters where the sound just isn't loud enough. Like I almost feel like if you're lucky enough to be able to invest in a great sound system at like a home theater setup, you're getting more consistency with that setup than you are even going to the theater. Like, for example, I saw when I saw the new Spider-Verse movie, immediately I was like, this sounds quiet. Like especially the dialogue. And actually, apparently, the mixing was off for the movie, like for the initial release. So they literally had to patch the movie. They released a patch, like they sent a different version with better audio mixing to theaters worldwide so they could show a better version. And I feel like that's strange. Like, why wasn't that? I mean, now we're getting into kind of gaming, like the current state of gaming with that, but. How does a movie like that release with, the sound mixing off a little bit? Like, it still didn't really detract from my experience, but I definitely thought that it was just my theater. And then reading about it afterwards is like, oh, this was a thing, like across the world.
From what I understood is that it was always meant to be played at a specific level. But none of the theaters thought that was the correct level, so none of them played it loud enough.
Yeah, that's
They even sent out like the thing that was like, I played Across the Spiderverse at 11 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
See, I'm reading this now. I did not hear of that, but you're right. It says that Sony kind of like they released sort of like an update for it. It suffered a considerable drop in its second weekend at the box office. It fell 55%.
That's my fault.
In the U.S. And yeah, I don't know. I just that's interesting. I've not actually heard of I've experienced that myself, yes, but I've not heard, or I guess I haven't looked into the those situations enough. But I've not heard of a scenario where like the studio essentially has like enough of an issue where they're like, okay, we're gonna like you said, patch it or update it. So that's interesting. I wonder, like Derick said, was that really like a problem, or was it more that theaters were just not doing things the way that they, I guess, were, instructed to, and then therefore they're like, oh, well, if nobody's doing it, we might as well just fix it.
Yeah, it's strange. It's like it almost got lost in translation, I guess, from the studios to whoever's purchasing the film from the theater to literally the person operating the reel, movie.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
So more reason to see it again.
I think all great points. I do think, this is probably a fair stopping point for this episode. Any last thoughts? Do we need to do a recap, or have we said enough?
No, I think I'm good.
I think I'm good too.
Yeah, we were talking about some watching experiences and some people that might have watching experiences. People who are watching this on YouTube, thank you again for another episode of 5 O'Clock Sweats. You can find us here, and that is applicable for wherever you're hearing or watching us. That's YouTube or Spotify. You can hit us up on Twitter or on Instagram. We are at 5 O'Clock Sweats on both of those platforms. Fellas,
Very
am I
nice.
forgetting anything?
No, I think you nailed it. It's time to break it down.
Great job, host.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, our catchphrase that we always say every time that hasn't changed ever, and
Will never change again.
It is. Yep. Okay. Get sweaty.
Get sweaty.
That's
Get
gotta
sweaty.
be it, I guess.
Get sweaty.
It's in the trailer. We need it.
Get sweaty.
Ooh, trailers. We didn't talk about trailers.
All right. A future discussion. But that was one of my cons for theaters. Damn it. But it's also a pro.
Next
too.
week on 5 O'Clock Sweats.
In a world